Well, so this goes back to the conversation we were talking about before. Let me pull up this story I find very, very strange. And it's about the pods, basically. From Business Insider, most millennial homeowners regret buying their home, survey finds. That just reeks of me of propaganda.
Yeah, I want to see how those numbers break down.
You don't want to own your own home.
That's right.
Where you're paying less than you would for a rent and you're keeping all the equity except for the interest. No, you don't want to do that. It's a terrible thing.
Does it say why? Does it say like millennials want to move around more, or does it even give any reason?
They say 20% said expensive maintenance costs and 13% said it was because they overpaid. And I look at that and I'm like, this article to me reeks of live in the pod. We've already got all the eat the bugs articles, the cicadas. By the way, the cicadas are getting smaller. So I went outside today and
that's because the big ones are getting eaten.
Well, no. I think it's because the big ones, the strong ones came out earlier and then died. And what's happening now is the weaker ones have been slow to emerge and they're much smaller. Yeah. So we're close to the end of the cicada swarm. But the media's been saying, eat the bugs like crazy. Even Tucker Carlson is like, I'm going to eat a bug live on TV. It's delicious.
Wait, Tucker ate a bug on
Tucker
TV?
ate a cicada pastry on TV.
The elite want you to think you shouldn't eat bugs. Of course you can.
Of course you can.
Of course you can eat bugs.
Of course you can.
Of course, it's
actually.
the right of every
Actually.
exactly.
The best Tucker is using actually at the end of a sentence.
Yeah, that is very
And then
true.
when he has a guest on,
I've always noticed
he just goes.
Seamus is
the elite
making
wants
the
you to
face.
think that you're not supposed to eat bugs.
Actually.
You are. Actually.
But actually, people around the world eat bugs and they enjoy it.
What about lobster?
Are we-
Lobster's
we're-
a bug. People eat that.
Yeah, lobster is a bug though.
Yeah.
You know who doesn't eat bugs?
Lobster, crab,
Antifa.
any of that.
That's right.
Antifa doesn't eat
Antifa.
bugs.
So
Maybe
okay,
we should make
Tucker
Read
ate
about Antifa's diet in my new book at antifabook.com.
There you go.
So
Did you like study them like animals?
Yes, I did.
This is what they consume. These are the.
you should.
No, they did in Chaz. They had a whole like co-op with food and everything. So
Bugs?
yeah,
They're mating
no
patterns.
bugs.
No bugs.
So it's
No
true.
cicadas.
No,
Antifa doesn't eat
Antifa
bugs.
doesn't eat
There were
bugs?
no
Yeah,
bugs. There were
confirmed.
no bugs in Chaz.
You should do
Yeah,
a
I don't
video
remember
spoof.
seeing any bugs.
You should do a video spoof with shots of Antifa and do like the Earth style documentary.
Right.
The young Antifa
That's exactly what I was thinking.
approaches the female and performs his dance, a mating ritual.
It doesn't work.
Anyway, we're talking about eating the bugs and living in the
then we'll
pod.
have the Snoop Dogg version on top of that.
Yeah.
I got some questions about this article.
Well, so it's an article. It's not the only one, right? There's also this other story from Reuters that says U.S. consumers sour on housing market's buying conditions. I mean, I guess that's true because the ultra wealthy are buying up these houses. But bro, they're saying live in the pod and eat the bugs. The people who don't buy houses, have you seen apartments in New York? They are pods. Dude, I remember watching these stories on like the news where they're like, this apartment goes for $3,000. It's a closet.
Yeah.
It's literally a closet, and they're like, it's a bed in it. I mean, Hong Kong is basically like that. You know, they got these really tiny, cramped apartments. Now, there's like a subreddit dedicated for these really awful tiny apartments where it's like a bed next to a toilet in a closet.
Well, there's even worse if you look at some of the illegal housing structure they have set up in Hong Kong and Beijing, where it'll be these sort of like large, kind of like the room we're in right now, but inside the room they'll have essentially what looks like steel rack bunk beds. And then you can rent one of the bunks, and you might be in a room with like 80 other dudes. And, you know, here's a family that's got like 2 bunks, right? But it's like 5 people, and that's it. And you go to work and you come back to your bunk, and I'm like the pod would be like a step up from some of this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's where we're going. So I think it's time for people
And
to
we'll
get away
love
from
it.
cities.
Yeah.
That's right.
You will
You
love
will
it.
be
You
happy.
will own nothing and you'll be happy. They make that video, but you know what? They're not wrong. They're not wrong. People can look. This is what I was saying this earlier today. If you were born in the 1400s, are you going to complain about not having a smartphone? You wouldn't know what a smartphone is. Are you
Right.
guys complaining about not being able to teleport right now?
No.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
I
all the
am.
time.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Like,
Like
what?
jackets.
Do you have
Teleport.
any idea how long it takes me to drive here? Yeah.
It's also because
Teleport
teleporting
right
just
now.
kills you and recreates you in another place.
Oh,
so I'm
good.
not
That's
about
true.
that. That's where
So
I
is
stand
it? So
on
is
the
it really? Is it
teleportation
really you?
question.
That's
Yeah,
the question. Is it
yeah.
really you?
Yeah.
That comes
Well,
back.
so look, right now there's a bunch of technology that'll exist in 100 years we don't know about,
Right.
and we don't have access to it. I mean, we're relatively happy.
That's what it is.
So this is what they're exploiting. They're exploiting that if the serfs have access to knowledge, then they will become unhappy with their circumstances. So they want us to be ignorant. The people who are following the mainstream media, not watching shows like this, not getting a critical thought process through, they're just going to, Brian Stelter said it, so it must be true. I'm happy. They're going to get their home taken away from some ridiculous. They're going to say, oh no, because of COVID, we've got to take your house now. And they're going to go, well, if it saves one life, that'll be it. And then people who aren't in those states, in red states, this is what's crazy. The red states are going the other direction. DeSantis, Abbott, no vaccine passports. New York, California, Illinois, Washington, yes. So what happens? New York says if you want to go to these businesses, you need a vaccine, the Excelsior Pass, they call it. So what happens if you're visiting from Texas, just a tourist, you want to go visit? Sorry, you can't come in.
We don't like your kind around here.
Yeah. So people won't go. What'll happen is people who live in New York who don't want to live under a vaccine passport in a pod or eating bugs will move to Texas.
Yep.
Texas will then become ideologically homogenous among people who like freedom, don't want to live in pods or eat bugs.
Ooh, I don't know about that, man. Because
What?
I think a lot of people will leave these blue states for a red state, but still vote for all the horrible things that destroyed their state in the first place. They'll go like, oh, I really don't like all of these things the government's forcing me to do, so I'm going to move somewhere where I'm more free. But then they're just going to vote for all the same stupid stuff that destroyed their place.
I don't think so, because
initially.
the reason I disagree with that is the people in blue states who are for vaccine passports are happy with them and demanding them. There are these TikTok videos where the girl's like, I can't believe our governor just banned vaccine passports. Like, how dumb. They don't want to live there. They want to leave. And people in New York are like, why don't we have more? What did Vice.com write? They wrote this article the other day. Why aren't we mandating vaccine passports? These people are going to jump and cheer to be in New York getting locked down under these things. And people who don't like that will leave not wanting to live that way. And then you will have an actual physical divide between states and ideology. And then it's like the politicians from Washington and the politicians from, Utah or whatever, or whoever else passed a ban on vaccine passports, they are going to be like totally different countries. No shared culture, completely at odds. And then what happens? What happens when New York says, you get Cuomo being like, we have to have vaccine passports because of the potential for a fifth wave. And then he says, we're going to have to lock down the borders like we did last time and do checks for people who are vaccinated. When the pandemic first started, they had cops at the roads into and out of Manhattan.
That's already started to an extent with this, and I think they keep changing the name of it, Indian variant or the Nepalese variant. But there's already people saying that we're not sure if the current vaccines that have been rolled out will be effective against the new variant, which is always sort of like one of the corollaries with the vaccine, right? That, hey, this may not affect new variants. Well, it looks like the thing that's actually spreading across India and is now potentially continuing may not be affected by the current. We don't know if they're effective yet.
So what happens then if you live in Texas or Florida or North Carolina is an East Coast state? It voted for Trump and they have a substantially lower ratio of vaccinations. What happens if you live there and you try to go to New York? They're not going to let you in. They're literally going to bar you and be like, if you're not vaccinated, you can't come.
Oh no.
Then you'll have, you say, oh no, for sure.
I'm kidding because New York is
no, but
like,
the seriousness of it is the hard divide.
This is a very
between
different issue than just like, you see it with gun owners right now. So they have like the drive-through laws that if I am a gun owner, but I'm driving through a state like New Jersey or I'm driving through New York, well, as long as I'm not stopping and, spending a substantial amount of time in that state, then I can still have my guns in the car. I'm just driving through, right? This isn't my final destination. As long as you're following, they have to be broken apart and the ammo has to be separate, et cetera, et cetera. But you can physically have them. This is different because I will not go to that state, number one, or I do not want people from that state coming here, number two, and that's only going to lead. I mean, sports teams. What happens with sports teams then? Do they still play? Right? Are we gonna? Is that going to be allowed? Et cetera. Et cetera?
What happens when a Texas-based sports team, I'm sure, which has many conservatives playing on the team, you just don't hear their politics, and they're like, I talked to my doctor, vaccine's not right for me, I don't feel like doing it. Then they're like, well, if you want to go play at the World Series or whatever against the Yankees in New York, you have to, otherwise you can't go in. And they'll be like, nah. This is a hard divide. So a lot of people talked about.
It's the Olympics right now, by the way, is facing all this. That's why. We were supposed to be like gearing up for, we had the 2020 Olympics postponed to 2021. Summer started, where's the Olympics? Like, where's the gear up towards it? And in Tokyo, they're freaking out. One IOC guy just committed suicide, just threw himself in front of the subway.
That's horrible.
Because the sheer amount of pressure that's on them because of all this and all these athletes. And, you look at some of these sports, by the way, where, like, a lot of them they live off of the Olympics, right? You can't the whole sport collapses without that. That Olympics is held every 4 years, and so you know, you realize that all of these questions are having very real consequences now, right now, in real time. And are we going to get to a situation where, I mean, I think, you know, you think of like the late night comedy. Oh, those people in Texas, they won't come up to, you know, imagine how insufferable Jimmy Kimmel's going to be, right, once that starts. But imagine then how radical. So if Jimmy Kimmel's the leading edge of it, right, then how radical will even the more radical people become towards people from, you know, somebody walking down the street with a, you know, a cowboy hat on. Do you become a target now?
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.